U.S. soccer under construction here on Morning Kick Around. We're in kind of a foundational age of the expansion in USL lower leagues and even Major League Soccer. Construction projects, brand launches. Feel like we get news and press releases almost every day about some sort of development with an ownership group, a stadium situation, or otherwise. We will talk with the owner of New Mexico United, maybe pop in a question about their stadium situation here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So we got kind of a grab bag. We got a number of things to touch on as far as updates, as far as new teams and stadiums. Probably leading the way is Detroit City FC. Stories coming out that they are seeking $88 million towards their brand new soccer-specific stadium in the city of Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, this is par for the course. Like, we shouldn't act like any of this is surprising. Now, it kind of does feel a little off when you see a story that says Detroit City is seeking $88 million in development incentives for Detroit Soccer Stadium, when they've also been talking about how this is a privately funded stadium.
Yeah.
Rob. Like, this is, there's no public money going into this stadium. And this is that technicality versus sort of the real world elements of it. Is it privately funded? Yeah, they're not taking any private money to do the construction.
That's funny.
Does it mean that they're not also getting some tax breaks from the city, or there's something going on that makes it a little bit more attractive for them to put money, or for private interests who want to fund the stadium construction to build the stadium? No, of course not. Right. And so you just have to find this place. I mean, what is $88 million? Sounds like a lot of money, Rob. Is that a lot of money for Detroit to be helping Detroit City with in the incentive? Again, it's not like they're handing Detroit City money. They're not writing a check for $80 million. But what they might say is, okay, well, we won't charge you taxes on this part of the construction, or this, we won't charge you the typical fees that come with building something like this, because it benefits the city to have Detroit City build this stadium for jobs and for the culture of it, for the civic pride. And it obviously benefits Detroit City to have a stadium to play soccer in.
Yeah, it's definitely par for the course, like you said. Not directly getting the money, but incentives is one thing. But it's that conversation of like, well, everyone else is doing it. I mean, huge companies with far more money that Detroit City FC get incentives like this for building new buildings or bringing their headquarters into cities and stuff like that. So to say that a growing grassroots soccer team can't go through those same avenues to find some funding for a large undertaking it would almost be malpractice on their part to not do that.
Right. Yes, exactly. So I
don't want it going out of Detroiters' hands directly into someone's pockets, but I mean, there's already tax incentives for so many other more wealthy companies. You can't test Detroit.
Well, but that's the thing. So again, this is a little bit hate the player, not the game.
Yeah, no doubt.
It is hate the player, not the game. Or
hate the game,
not the player. Don't hate the player. I messed it up. I haven't slept as well either. No, it's not true. I slept a lot. Don't hate the player, hate the game, because Detroit City is only doing what anybody in their position would do. So didn't you have an issue with some of these subsidies that they are looking to get from the city of Detroit, when maybe the city of Detroit has to make choices over where the money goes, how the budget looks, what line item is fixed to do what thing, right? People who don't like stuff like this will immediately go to places like, well, if you're taking money from the schools to give it to the soccer team, we don't like that. But is it really, truly, directly that thing that is happening in a situation like this?
I mean, colloquially, you could say that. I mean, I guess you could spin that any which way, but when there's so many buckets of funds, you can't necessarily say, yoink, that's taken out of the kids. And sure, I would love $88 million in tax incentives to go to Detroit public schools. But
that's the thing. Like, that's probably not how Detroit public schools works. They don't need incentives. They need actual money to pay for things in Detroit.
Yeah.
So if there's no money changing hands, if it simply is over the course of 15 or 20 years or whatever these incentives and subsidies look like, that Detroit City isn't paying what normally a company in their position would pay in terms of tax or property taxes and all these other kinds of things, right? Basically greasing the skids for them to be able to build this stadium, get it opened. Obviously, like I said, employ people, bring excitement to that part of Detroit, redevelop a site we know that is an abandoned hospital that is otherwise sitting there decrepit, and apparently attracting people who want to go explore it and then get killed because they're doing stupid things, then that benefits everybody. But again, without knowing the individual line item details on this, it's really hard to go, this is a good thing or a bad thing.
This comes to light courtesy of Detroit Free Press. Last night on September 11th, the details of the club's public subsidies were unveiled at a public meeting. The Neighborhood Advisory Council working towards community benefits package for the project. The total cost of the development speculated to be $198 million, not 200, $198 million, including a centerpiece, $153 million for the 15,000 seater stadium. So not, so my maths aren't great, but that's like what, 40% they're looking in tax credits?
I mean, again, how that translates, whether it is dollar for dollar, or whether that's going to bring down the ultimate cost of the stadium from 198 to 110, I don't know. Like, that's not, again, is that sort of how any of this works is a good question. This is probably a better situation, though, in terms of what Detroit City is getting in terms of subsidies or tax breaks, than a city actually, granting a team a lease, a $1 lease on land that would otherwise go for millions upon millions of dollars, which happens quite often, right? That's the thing. Again, lots of cities make a choice. We want this sports team here. We got a billionaire owner who could fund this himself, right? Could go out and get the money to build the stadium himself or herself. And instead, what ends up happening is the billionaire threatens to move the club, and then the city rolls over and goes, okay, we'll give you this, and we'll give you that, and we'll give you this other thing. And again, whether or not at the end of the day, that land or those subsidies could have been given in different ways, could have been distributed in different ways, sold, helped the city in different ways, is really tough to know in some cases. Because a lot of times what you have are sports team owners who want to build a stadium, who are willing to go into areas of a city that would not otherwise have interest in terms of development. And that may be the case here with Detroit City FC. I mean, you're much more aware of what's going on with this than I am, but right there, Mexican Town, Corktown, the abandoned abandoned hospital, what that means in terms of the danger it poses to the community, the potential, again, remediation and things that have got to go into this project. Who knows?
Obviously, the neighborhood has probably plenty of concerns, or at least things to bring up with the club and the city for a new stadium. But you think the counter argument of this is a collapsing, decrepit old building, that the contrary to that of having a new vibrant stadium seems like a no-brainer, but not a neighbor there. But so if everything goes to plan, exciting stuff for Detroit.
Yeah,
interesting to see $88 million. Worth of tax breaks is solid.
What else we got?
Moving down to Florida, hot off the presses, we got a press release from Sporting Jacks down in Florida. You've heard these names before: John Elway, Tim Tebow, Blake Bortles, and Chick-fil-A CEO Andrew Cathy have launched Momentous Sports, and their first major project is the takeover of Sporting Jacks, or expanded ownership of Sporting Jacks, and a stadium and real estate endeavor.
Yeah, this is interesting. I mean, I'll admit my ears perk up at the mention of John Elway. May have been my first sports hero. I don't need to get into that. Not talking about him as a post-career person, just in terms of his on-the-field exploits for the Denver Broncos, who I very much adore. The best moment of my life before marriage and kids was the Broncos finally winning a Super Bowl when I was 18 years old. Beating the Green Bay Packers, of course, which I'm sure you're fine with.
Yeah, I liked Elway and the gang.
All right. So we have a couple of things that work here, right? So, and Tebow, who has been attached to this project for a while. This is not new. I guess this is like reorganizing the ownership that Tebow. I don't know about Blake Bortles. That may be a new addition. I believe there's somebody else, another sports name attached to Jacksonville,
It was Fred Jackson.
Fred Jackson. Okay. So you've got a big name, great athlete, all-time great athlete, an athlete who's famous for not necessarily for what he did in the NFL, but certainly has a name in Team Tebow.
Yeah.
Organizing a new group. How much money are they putting into this project would be of interest to me. Fred Taylor, not Fred Jackson. I thought you got that wrong. Fred Taylor was the player.
There you go.
What this means. Like, is this just kind of window dressing on the club? Does it just bring a little bit of extra attention for them to say, hey, John Elway's involved? And people who might not know a lot about soccer or a kind of soccer adjacent in Jacksonville and the surrounding area go, oh, John Elway, I know who that is. That's a football player. I know that guy. So is this going to bring anything significantly beneficial to Jacksonville? Does it boost their spending power, for example? Does it make them a higher level operation? I don't know any of that, at least not yet.
I think it depends on how big this real estate company that John Elway is a part of has to say. He's got because John Elway is founding or this group is founded through a real estate firm called Four Stones. But the quote from John Elway is, owning a team is great. Owning the land under it, even better. Momentous has a real strategy that combines both, and that's what drew me in. I've been around a lot of teams, buildings, and sales deals. Momentous is not just another sports investment platform. It's built by competitors for competitors. And the first, and then this is just the copy, first major project underway for Momentous. Lead investor in Sporting Jacks, the new professional club in Jacksonville with both men's and women's. And they just recently merged with Florida's Elite Youth Academy, creating a vertically integrated system that now supports more than 12,000 youth players across northern Florida.
So this is where the cynic in me really starts to bubble up, because I want this to be all on the up and up, all about supporting the game, all about the good things that can come out of soccer, all about feeding Jacksonville, giving Jacksonville a proper soccer club that they can rally around. And maybe that's part of it. And I guess a thing can be two things. It doesn't have to be one or the other. But this is also very much in line with a lot of people now, modern 2025 world, looking at soccer. And I already mentioned Don Texter. Obviously, it's a different lane that he's chosen. But looking at the sport of soccer and thinking there's a lot of money to be made here. How can we make money? I don't know how much John Elway cares about soccer. Maybe that doesn't matter in this case. I don't know how much Tim Tebow cares about soccer. Maybe that doesn't matter in this case. I don't know, but I do think it's okay for soccer fans to hesitate a bit, or at least look at this with a little bit of a jaundiced eye, Rob, and say, you're going to have to prove this to me, that what you're doing isn't just about making you money, that this is actually going to benefit. Like, I'm not going to end up supporting a club and my dollars are just going into supporting Jacksonville because this is going to benefit Tim Tebow and John Elway and Momentous Sports or whatever that is.
And so your skeptical eye, let's see if this sounds like an outfit that's in it to make some money. The Four Stones Real Estate is a private investment office of Andrew Cathy, CEO of Chick-fil-A, with a focus on long-term partnerships, value-driven, blah, blah, blah. The firm supports high-impact real estate across hospitality, mixed use, and community infrastructure. So that seems
we got that link. We got that link between the real estate and the soccer, which always makes us a little uncomfortable. Now, I also have to acknowledge, and I've said this many, many times, without that entry point of real estate investment, we might not have the soccer teams we have. A lot of those teams might not exist, and certainly there wouldn't be stadiums either under construction or already built or being conceived, because without that element of incentivizing people with investment dollars to get involved with the game because the sport of soccer itself is not going to generate the money. Like, that's not an investment vehicle. That is a passion project. If you're buying a soccer team, and maybe it's a little bit different in America than it's been in Europe, but if you're buying a soccer team, you're going to lose money. You're going to lose money unless there's something else that goes with the soccer team which helps defray some of those losses, or even potentially helps you make money, which, again, the problem I think we have as soccer fans is, and sports fans is, do these people care at all about the club that I'm supposed to give my emotional care to? Like, I'm supposed to care about this team. I'm supposed to support them. I'm supposed to buy tickets. I'm supposed to go out and buy the gear. I'm supposed to show up. I'm supposed to cheer and cry when they lose and all those things. Do you care the same way I do?
Yeah, but are we holding it to too high of a level if we do that? Because, at the biggest levels of all the teams across all the other sports, do any of those owners care?
That's the problem. Like, do you have to make peace with the fact that your soccer club is just going to be a different kind of thing than maybe sports teams were generations ago, or maybe the way that they are thought of in various places? Obviously, Europe is going through a very difficult time in a lot of places where fans are realizing my club has become something different than just my community outlet in this sport I care so much about.
And here we go. Here's a comment from Almaty. He's from Jacksonville. His mom called him about the team because she heard it's Tebow's team, knowing nothing about soccer. So that connection of having a famous name and a real estate ploy definitely seems to be the kind of a template, if you will, for this modern soccer expansion.
Right. So again, if you do, this is the bargain. Like, oh, I don't know if I like the way this is going down. I don't know if I like the angle at which this investment is coming, or who's involved and why they might be involved, because it doesn't seem to be sort of organically tied to a passion for the game. But if that didn't exist, maybe there's no club. And if there's no club, you have nothing to support at all. Or you have to make a choice about being a dislocated fan, which is kind of the world we live in now as part of this.
And lots of things have to all come together. There needs to be a lot of synergy between community, real estate, celebrities.
There's a question and I'm just posing it as a question. Okay, maybe we talk about this.
Questions, folks.
There's a question as to whether or not this growth is a bubble. Right, there's I think it's a reasonable thing to ask as we talk about the number of expansion teams coming, particularly to USL. Is there a bubble forming? And when that bubble bursts, who's left? Who's left standing? We've been dealing, and again, this is why we say, okay, you're taking a shot at Pro-Rel, totally fine. Considering that so many clubs have come and gone, even without Pro-Rel, might as well give Pro-Rel a shot. Maybe that actually creates a structure through which teams can survive. Maybe that's a thing. We don't know because it's never been done in this country. Let's try it and see what happens. But again, like this explosion kind of comes with that little bit of fear on the back end of it.
Yeah, sure it does. And time will only tell. And then who were the fortunate ones? The ones that got in early and have their stadium already built when the bubble burst, or the ones who are like halfway building something and something goes awry. But we shall see. Time will tell. But exciting times nonetheless in the expansion of American club soccer. Thank you everyone for tuning in today. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, do so now. That number's ticking its way up. And thank you everyone who's already got on board. Thank you to our brand new member, Gary. Thanks so much for joining membership, becoming an MK Ultra. Love to get members on board. Helps us a ton. And then you get more of us, more of the show. You get private videos, you get early access to videos, bonus content, and access to the Morning Kick Around Discord server, which is going to be probably at its peak of activity this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Great stuff over there. Lots of people sharing their own soccer stories, sharing things that they're finding, talking about. We were just talking about this college player situation, former pro in England, I think.
Yeah, he was a Newcastle Academy player, and he's on Ohio State's roster, and some people are like, what the HE double hockey sticks.
This is something we probably should delve into. The influx of not just international players, but potentially players who have had some very high level experience landing in college soccer and changing the landscape of that world.
Yeah. So there could be, reasons or that's allowable. Maybe he didn't go full pro or this or that. Maybe there's a sitting out period, but still, like the domestic American, high school, college player facing stiffer and stiffer competition if we're going to be getting, Premier League Academy players hitting D1 soccer teams. But we'll delve more into that. And we've been getting some good messages across social media at MKickaround, across X, Instagram, and we should have been talking about this whole time. TikTok. I've been trying to hit up the TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok has been added. Rob is delving into that world, and we should be able to bring some more content to you through that platform. Yeah.
Is there a gray hair TikTokers or something?
Probably there's like an old guy TikTok thing for sure.
But the big day, so can't wait. We're going to the Meow Wolf kit release party tonight, and then the big one, the Morning Kick Around special edition, 5:30 local time, 7:30 Eastern time. We will be doing college game day style show from Isotopes Park in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Just the start of a fantastic weekend ahead. Jason and I live in the flesh together. And until Saturday night,
Yep.
everybody, please enjoy your soccer. We'll see you then.